Hello friends, how are you today? Well, I'm so excited to be here with you to talk about the Schumann resonance and to talk about human energy and our human experience of these energies and what they may be like for you. And I use a science-based combined with an intuitive approach. So we look at the numbers behind the spectrogram image, and I also do an intuitive read of the images. I've been doing this for several years, and I just really delight and enjoy being here with all of you. So let's get into this. Before we do that, I wanted to show you something. I have reinitiated my Substack. So I have 3 kinds of content on there. I have Schumann resonance articles, then I have articles on human energy, and then I'm going to be putting my astrology information and report summaries on there. And so come on over to Substack, subscribe. You can have a free subscription or you can have a paid subscription on Substack. And I would love it if you feel resonant with it and you can do it. If some of you could pay for subscriptions, that would be really wonderful for me. And what I'm doing now here, let me show you. Here's what I'm doing. I'm putting the charts on my Substack with commentary. So this will be, I'll try and do it, 2 or 3 times a week. Some weeks maybe more, like this week when it's really active. Little summary of, what's going on. A little writing on the chart so that you can, and it's really easy to expand and pull up, or even on your phone to read the charts this way, and read my comments. And that helps because sometimes on the videos, I know that you guys can't see everything. And then what I'm doing is I'm giving a little chat and a little commentary. It's going to be complementary to the video, so it won't be the exact same thing as the video necessarily. Sometimes it'll highlight some same points, but I want to be able to go a little deeper with my kind of personal insights and the really juicy stuff that I really want to say. So let me give you an example. Okay, well here, this is where so what I'm doing is I'm putting that in the paid section. And so if you notice the topic here, on Substack, this is something that I can really write a lot about and not have to have any concerns about expressing myself. And the other thing is, this is my really juicy stuff on how energy works, the kind of things that I talk about in my workshop, which are more intimate discussions than I have on YouTube, and where I can get more into the energy dynamics of how things really work. And I'll tell you what, people can experience transformational change by engaging with this content and by learning about how the human energy field works and so on. So I have a really, really interesting, I'll just show you the top of it here, really interesting discussion about, for example, comparing the chart yesterday and the day before with the charts for years ago in 2020. So I think that you'll find that really interesting. I really want to give good value for those of you who are paid subscribers. And so I think right now it's $5 a month. So I think that you'll really like the value is what I want to say. So yay. And it's more of a commitment, to engaging with my work. And so I'm going to give you good stuff. It's a two-way street. it's a mutual energy exchange. It benefits me, but I also want to benefit you and share things that you could use to really enhance your life. And the energy practices, the feedback that I get from working with people from the workshop. There's one person in particular who just made a huge breakthrough. And it was just so beautiful. And I've had people do that over and over again in sessions because working with energy dynamics and just even coming to understand how this works, how your own body works, your body and your energy field non-physically is incredibly it's incredibly empowering. All right, now should we actually talk about the topic here? Yes, let's go to it. So a number of you have asked me on Twitter and possibly on the comment section, what does zero amplitude mean? Because I've highlighted that the last couple days on the chart. The fact is, I have talked about zero amplitude on my videos quite a few times over the last 3 years. So if you become a regular listener, you really, what I do is I try and in every video drop bits of information that are additive. And so over time, you really will build a knowledge base of about the information. And so I really went into detail in the paid section of my Substack, really about zero amplitude with new information that I haven't released before. But let me just give you a thumbnail here. I said that it was no power, right? Because amplitude is essentially the power of the resonances. And so what does that mean if we don't have any power? Like, are we even alive? It's a funny thing to think about, isn't it? And but what really came to me after, the discussion that I had in those sections was, I think the best way to say it that it's understandable is that it's a change in our reality. Because clearly we're at zero amplitude, right? We're at zero power. All of us are still alive. Or I don't want to laugh, actually. Most of us are still alive. People are passing very often suddenly every day, and it's really disturbing, actually. It's very disturbing. And I found myself really in tears. Someone passed this week, Diamond, from Diamond and Silk, and there was something about her passing that I was just crying. I was looking at her videos and it just really hit me. And my dad made it out of the hospital, so he is much better. And thank you, everyone. I thank you for your well wishes. But I'm just really grateful that he made a turnaround. But all of us are coming face to face with a very harsh reality right now. And let me bring up the chart because this directly relates to the interpretation. And I'm really going to lean on the intuitive interpretation and I'm going to tell a story to explain the dynamics here. But I think that as a group, we're starting to have a mass awakening, which many of us are aware of. But there are different levels of the awakening process. There's that level where you're reading all this information and then you simply insist on telling every single person no matter what their reaction is. Because, they have to know this. And, you think that you have figured out it's this person, it's this answer, it's this product, it's whatever it is. And it very well may be that those specific things are part of the problem and part of the reason. But what's been amazing is that digging deeper, there's always new layers, almost unfortunately. I mean, and now I've gotten to the conclusion that I don't know what the prime mover is of what's going on in the world, because it seems like there's a force. President Trump called it the invisible enemy. But there's some kind of force, there's some unknown force, and I like to just refer to it as the bad guys, as if I'm talking to a child. Because really, it's the simplest way of saying it, and there's no way to know. I think whatever the truth is, it's ultimately still hidden. But there's something, and we're coming to. So there's these levels of awakening, and it directly relates to the zero amplitude, in my opinion. You know why? This date here, okay, January 10th, 3 years ago, this was the day that the first death was announced in China. And the chart looked very, very different. And it had looked, this is the first time I've ever seen the chart like this. I mean, this is stunning. This is amazing. And I'm glad I've been doing this for years now, so I can actually bring some kind of interpretation to it. But this is the day, literally to the day, okay, of that announcement that then led to the changes in our world that we've seen over the last 3 years, that many of us are not very happy about. Probably all of us are very unhappy, but some for very different reasons. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we went to zero amplitude. To me, it signals this very deep, really almost untouchable, because it's deep in our subconscious. It's deep in that part of you that with a gut knowing, you just know something. And I think that this is the new level of awakening that we've all come to. And it's interesting because I have been up since 1 a.m. I won't go into all that. But, and then at 5 a.m, I started talking to my girlfriend who was also up. And so we had this conversation that touched on this topic. Because, of course, I was looking at the chart and thinking about what I was going to put in the video. But it's also a topic that she cares about, very much, and we have talked about at times. But there comes you come to a place, and I think as a group, an astounding number of us have come to this place where you realize that there are people in the world that are actively intending to do you harm. And, I'm going to invoke a space of sacred discharge here, back to the beginning of this video, and over that statement I just made, burn the violet flame, throughout this video, from the beginning to the end. And spiritually, energetically, what that does is it takes the charge off of the transmission, off of the discussion, so that we can speak, and I can speak in a space of neutral, so that there's no transmission beyond the story. I'm not calling anything in. For example, we're in a space of sacred discharge. We're in a space of just sharing information neutrally. So it's shocking when you get to this place. And for spiritual people, for light workers, for deeply Christian people, and deeply other religions, we don't experience this part of life. We haven't had to, especially in our Western societies. And we've had the luxury of assuming and then teaching the generations through the, latter part of the 1900s into the 2000s in America, about, that there is an ingrained good-heartedness in people. And I do believe that there is. I always think of it as, baggage claim. Now there's all this security. But it always used to be, there was no security at baggage claim. And not all necessarily cameras either. Maybe there were hidden cameras, I don't know, prior to the 9/11 situation. But I always thought, everybody just takes their own luggage and gets out of town and leaves. It is a testament to the goodness of people and the basic rule-following nature of people, the basic lawfulness of people. But when you realize that there is a segment of people who actively gain the system, and this may sound naive now because all of us are coming to this awakening. Not only do they game the system, they've gotten into places of significant power, and then they've created policies involving millions or billions of people that could potentially, really not be what we all thought it was. I call this the bad guys, and I think this is what I was talking with my friend Andrea about, because she's really big on investigating, in life, thinking about these things, and what I think is that there's at least two flavors of this, right? You have your basic human nature. And in human nature, you have the expansiveness from positive to negative. We can do really amazing things. We can really do quite negative things. And it's interesting because she and I have talked about this a lot. I was doing a public fair, one day, a few years ago, and someone came to my booth and I had to kick them out of the booth. And after that, I was feeling a little shaken. And who did I go to for support? I did not go to the everything is wonderful light worker types at the fair. No, I went to the woman who, let's just say, was much more balanced between the darkness and the light. Why? Because a person like that can see this stuff coming, right? And when you're feeling vulnerable, you don't want someone who is in denial about some of these truths of the world, because in denial, you can't protect yourself, right? In denial, that's when those are the mothers that allow their children to be abused, for example, because that does happen. And sometimes in those situations, there's a conscious choice of, by the mother. I don't want to get into all the details of that. Sometimes they think that staying in the situation is their best option. This is really getting into some, these are the moral issues that we face that are life-changing, that we face that are at the level of, what's going to happen between us and our soul, right? Now, if you have a conscience, you care about the outcomes. You care, right, about that child in that situation. Right? I could feel the hackles raising among you as I was bringing that up. And being deeply familiar with that topic. And, I'll just say that. I don't want to go into any more about that for now. So, So there's the range of human fallibility, of people who decide to save themselves, of people who, and these are all very personal situations. But then there's another niche of, there's people who are are more than just self-centered or self-focused, or there's narrow group of people where, I don't know, the psychopaths, psychopathic, sociopathic, I don't know, the formal diagnosis for this, but it's definitely, these guys are part of that. And that get into power. And it's literally like living through the worst Austin Powers movie, right? I said to Andrea this morning, I said, this is the worst movie ever. This is the worst movie ever. So I think that we are waking up to have an insight into, and I'm going to use the famous meme, how bad things really are. And this is our response to that. Our response in realizing that there are bad guys and they want to do some bad stuff. They have some plans for Earth that are not really human friendly, as an understatement. And our response is, well, we'll just withdraw our energy. Zero amplitude. And speaking, using the Schumann as a reflection and a map of human consciousness, right? As I always do. And in my beginner playlist, I go into these ideas and why I think it's like that. But today I want to focus on the topic rather than explain why I feel it does reflect human consciousness. In my in the paid section of my Substack, I went into that in much more detail in the last 2 newsletters. Because here's the thing. We have a power source besides that of the human body. And I do believe it's on the chart, but I don't know to what extent it's measurable. I would say in the unmeasurability of it, it shows up for us. And it's this deep, dark blue. It's divine will expressed through us. Our other source, our other power, is the divinity that created us, your living soul. And I say in my videos that I believe that this is at the top of the chart and the bottom. I believe it's at 0, right? Our unconscious connection with soul, powering the light, powering the physical body. And it's at 35 to 40 plus, 35-ish to 40 plus, which is the gamma brainwaves, which is our conscious experience of the spiritual. And that's why you see the bottom of the chart, deep blue, like this so much. I think that when it's like that, human consciousness is musing with the spiritual. And here, especially with the change of the seasons, let me just get this back here, in the northern hemisphere, right, this is been very dominant, the deep blue at the bottom of the chart. But now it extends all the way up. And let's just say this, okay? What if humanity could change the dial of the radio station so we don't pick up their transmissions anymore? What transmissions? The transmissions of the bad guys. I just want to say it like that. It sounds kind of silly, but simplicity is often the best approach, right? Because we don't know exactly what the force is. But what if we could stop picking up the transmission? Well, then I think that the way that the chart looks would reflect that. And I don't think it's a coincidence that there are some meetings of certain people who like to plan for the whole world just reading through social media, the extremely exclusive aspect of those may have started this week, potentially. Okay, I don't know if the person was correct, but it hit as true to me. And I think the human collective is a lot smarter on an intuitive basis than we give ourselves credit for. And somehow we knew that this was 3 years to the day of that event 3 years ago. And somehow we know that this time period is when these discussions are beginning to happen about what the world is going to look like. And here's the human response. We can create our own world in alignment with divinity, in alignment with God's plan for humanity, in alignment with divine will through us. And you can't reach us when we are operating that way. And why can't influences that are not in alignment with the divinity that they are, right, that do not have a soul, for example, why are they unable to come through on that radio station? Because the soul cannot be algorithmized, and because these forces, therefore, do not have access to it. Whatever they are, whoever they are, it doesn't really matter. And the fact is I think that it's changeable. I think it's just an energy that is in the universe, in our polarized planet in which duality exists. I think it's a force of nature and creation, ultimately. And humanity is learning. We're honing ourselves. We're up to the test. And we will we will make a decision. And today it looks like that decision is a preference for divine will through us. A preference for life, for human life,